Hey crew, Mark Hadmaker here. Let's talk a little bit about power punching. Because why? Our most recent volume in our black box instructional videos is actually on KO power punching. We go deep into the weeds of the science. We actually call it the active leisure lecture because it's primarily the science, the underlying fundamentals about all the tactical work we're going to be putting on the overlay on top of it, and make sure that we're all on the same page as we're moving forward and things. And that lecture is 50 minutes long with all the information in there, plus all the printed syllabi so you can follow along with it, because there is actually some math in there as we reconfigure Newton's second law of dynamics as it applies to the human body mass, because we know force equals mass times acceleration, but that refers to inert matter. Organic matter is different once we start applying some biomechanics to it. One aspect of biomechanics, we know there's four overall broad things we can manipulate when we're trying to access more power, actually find out we're stripping ourselves of power. We've got center of mass, we've got support, we've got stability zone, and we've got projection. Just to address one of them, the center of mass, the center of gravity, the axis of input. Yeah, it's pretty much, we hear it on martial arts, is that about 2 inches below your navel and then about 3 inches inside your body. And if you transected this way, you kind of bisected and met yourself, boom, that's about where your center of mass is going to be. We don't really give it a lot of thought, even though that's what keeps us upright all the time, even though we have bad posture. Not all of us, but some of us moving around. Unless you're a skateboarder, perhaps you play with slack line, whatever, you don't think about this center of mass nearly as much. Yet in boxing, the old schoolers, the old timers thought you need to have a constant awareness of where this center of mass is. Why? And what does it have to do with the power punching is, because if you're watching someone from the side, while they're up there in the ring and the canvas or the apron, or on the mat, in the ring, if you're watching that center of mass, every time they throw a punch, if that center of mass makes no advance by even 1 inch, that means the power has been bled off this. You purposefully sacrificing what's going on. That's why so much of this head on the stick kind of throwing, where you're staying in one spot. Center of mass ain't moving. You're just kind of rotating this small little sphere, this little globe that Magellan wouldn't even take the time to try and circumnavigate. So we've got to learn how to make sure we have the center of the mass, yes, for balance, but that's really not what it's for. Center of mass is how we can make it go into something. Stability is more about the stability zone, is about how to make sure we maintain that balance. And of course, we cover that in the lecture, along with what that support really means. And then most of all, super important, huge, the old timers, will be projection. You look at Dempsey and Tyson and Jimmy Dundee and on and on and on. From the old timers, I mentioned Tyson because, he's definitely a direct link to the old time about how to move that center of mass and through targets. Anyway, if this kind of in the weeds lecture about power and you really want to get even deeper and deeper into that, please have a look at that product. We've got a few freebie support articles out there on it right now, including this little wee tweak, a bit of a video. But again, that lecture is 50 minutes long, printed syllabi, so you can just go out. If you want to take a look at it, head to our website, www.extremeselfprotection.com. But I'm telling you, if you really start paying attention, center of mass, how to make it work for you in Newton's equation, which we got to retweak for biomechanics, for organic matter, that's me and you, flesh and blood kids, have a look at that material. In the meantime, though, thanks for taking a look at this. Here comes my thumb.